Thanks to all y'all watching the videos and clicking through the links. A lot of new opportunities are opening up to me. And one of them was TinHifi, a very reputable IEM manufacturer. They reached out on Twitter, said, hey, we got a couple sets of IEMs we want to send you to test. Are you interested? My parents didn't raise a fool, and I always say yes to free stuff. They sent them over, and one of the sets so far is a real winner. The second set needs a little bit more testing. The IEMs that we're talking about today are the TinHifi P1 Max II. These are a single planar magnetic driver, 14.2mm planar magnetic driver. A planar magnetic driver is a very unique type of headphone driver. I'm going to show a diagram here on the screen. Planar drivers are known for their speed and clarity in sound reproduction. The first thing I want to talk about is the shell design. This is probably the smallest and most comfortable IEM I have ever reviewed. At first, it was a little difficult to get to fit because it is such a shallow fit. It's a very small, shallow shell. A lot of the other IEMs I reviewed on this channel kind of have a long nozzle that reaches into your ear. So I think this shape is gonna fit a lot more people. Not only is the shell very small, but so is the nozzle. This has been a point of contention for a lot of people using IEMs. I feel like the nozzles being too wide cause the edges of the tips to kind of get forced into your ear, especially on the Truthier Zeros that I talked about a while back, and it can cause irritation. I think these are going to be comfortable for a large majority of people, especially with people with smaller ears. That being said, while I usually wear medium or small on those kind of go-in-your-ear IEMs, these shallower ones, I do have to run a larger tip. I do find the Tangzu tips that I linked in my Arete video also great on these. I run the large ones, so I'll link those down in the description below. There's nothing wrong with the stock tips included here. I just have tips that I really like, and I do recommend experimenting with some aftermarket tips to find something that works for your ears so you can use them on multiple sets of IEMs. In addition, the cable that comes with this is nice. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but I do have an aftermarket cable that's just a little bit softer and more comfortable, more cores, and I do like that more, so I'll link that down in the description below. One more note before we get into the sound is that these did require a little bit more power for me. I have this on the medium setting on my amp as opposed to low on most other IEMs. I'm not saying you need something special, but like most IEMs, at minimum, I recommend the Apple USB-C dongle. It is perfect for IEMs. You really don't need anything more if you're just gaming. I'll link that down in the description below. Now, the important part, the tuning or the overall tonality of the IEM. This IEM is very, very bass focused. It has a ton of very thick, warm bass, but it never ever gets distorted. There's no rumbling because there's no dynamic driver. It is just clean, thick, detailed bass. And for me, in my main game, Warzone, bass detail is very important for being able to distinguish footstep cues. And so these are really, really great for that. The P1 Max IIs have a deep V tuning, they call it, so it has boosted bass and boosted highs where the mids are kind of recessed, and these do sound like that. The mids are fine, there's plenty of detail there. They do kind of get muddy when there's a lot of stuff going on, but we'll talk about that more in the detail retrieval section. The highs, or the bright end, like the cymbals and crack of gunshots, they can get kind of bright on this set. It's very typical for planar magnetic drivers, but with turning the volume down just a little bit, I don't think it ever hurt my ears. If you're sensitive to highs, this set might not be for you. Now, soundstage and imaging. This is my favorite part of this headset. This is probably the most headphone sounding IEM that I have ever used. It has a very three-dimensional sound, especially in music that's recorded in a live setting. You can really hear the space. So by proxy, when I'm playing in game, it is very easy to tell where things are coming from and how far away they are. I think that sometimes this set sounds more 3D than the Aretes from my last video, my current top dog pick. It also has great imaging left and right. There's a very well-defined center, no issues there. While this does have a very 3D spacious sound, it does lack in the detail department. So in-game, when stuff gets really hectic, when there's a huge gunfight going on, when there's a bunch of streaks going off in Warzone, the single driver does lag far behind of a multi-driver IEM like the Arete. The Arete has a much more choir of voices sound. So when there's a loud cracking gunshot in the high range and explosion going off in the background in the bass, those sounds sound very separate and they never step on each other. Something that's very important when playing something like Warzone. The P1 Max II, when a lot of stuff goes on, it just kind of maxes out. Like there's just a clutter and I can't hear the separation in sounds. So while I can tell distance and space when things are very quiet, the detail retrieval is pretty far behind the Arete. Now, what makes up for it is the price. These are only $140. Sometimes on Amazon, there's an $8 or $10 coupon that brings it down to $130. This, with a cheap $20 USB microphone on Amazon, is going to be a great option for a lot of people. This is going to be under $150, which is less than some crappy Astros, and it's going to sound leaps and bounds better. Now, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but you should not be plugging in your IEMs into the back of your PC or into your MixAmp. Plenty of other channels have reviewed the Apple dongle in great detail, so I'll link one of my favorite videos down below, but it is the cheapest and easiest way to cleanly power IEMs, and you really don't need more than it. You can get a USB-A to USB-C extension, so you can extend it from your PC to your desk and then just plug your IEMs into that. That dongle is a perfect pairing with the P1 Max IIs. Now, while the P1 Max IIs do lag behind something like the Aretes, the Orchestra Lights, those multi-driver balanced armature sets, these are a lot clearer sounding than a lot of the dynamic driver IEMs that I've tested. The Truth Ear Novas are in a very similar price range, and I found that the bass is cleaner and higher resolution on this set, and I feel like I can tell distance and space a lot better. I would pick these over those. These sound a lot clearer than the Truth Ear Novas or the 7Hz Sonuses. These just have a lot of space and 3D sound, and that lends itself to the detail retrieval and the resolution, but really it just helps me hear sounds in context. I really like this set. I don't really like ranking all of them, but I find myself going to these over the Orchestra Lights even sometimes. And at $140 or $130, that's pretty crazy to me. I find these much more competitive for Warzone than a single driver or dual driver IEM like the Truth Ear Novas, but I do feel like they lag a little bit behind when all added up. Something like the Orchestra Lights or the Aretes are going to be much better for that analytic, clear, high detail sound that I feel you need for a game like Warzone. I will say, if you do more of mixed usage and you're not just sweating your butt off in a first-person shooter, these are great for music. Really, really great. I mean, I listen to live performances or jazz, and there's just so much texture and space. They're really a pleasure to listen to. Movies as well. I've been catching up on The Boys, and that's actually where I noticed the high-pitched sound being a little rough. That shell shock sound can be really piercing sometimes, but the immersion you get from these plain automatic drivers is really up there on par with some of the Sennheiser headsets I have. I think these are a great mid-range option for people, those that don't feel like spending over $200, but feel like they want to get a little bit more than the sub $100 range. I'll say it one more time, the Apple dongle is all you need. That'll be linked down below, as well as a cheap mic. Fifine is a wonderful brand that I've seen a lot of clients come through appointments and enjoy, so I'll link one of their cheaper mics that I would recommend down below as well. If you have any questions, I do live Q&As on Twitch every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. EST. twitch.tv/art_is_war. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. We have a couple more IEM videos coming. We have a new controller video that I am very excited to release in the coming weeks, as well as a setup tour. I'm going to be redoing my whole setup, moving to a new desk, so I'm going to cover what I currently have. We are going to be moving to a bigger desk. I'm going to make a video out of all of it, so make sure you have notifications on for that. Until the next video, I'll catch y'all later. Peace.